Okay, good afternoon. I think we are live now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Fine. I'm Palo Alto's mayor, native-born kid, and I'm here this afternoon chatting with Ed Shikata, Palo Alto's city manager. Ed, thanks for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time today. This is the first of our kind of live table talks where we're going to answer some common questions we're seeing via phone, via email, or on the city's website. And try to answer those questions, share some city updates, and connect our residents and community members with information. So a couple just high-level bullets we want to emphasize. This shelter in place is really challenging for everyone, whether you're a resident, a kid at school, a business, the university. This is a really challenging and novel time for our community. So I do want to emphasize we're all in this together, and I really hope we can all practice gratitude and graciousness with our neighbors and fellow residents to keep our community safe. Today, we're planning to touch a couple of topics on everybody's minds, kind of the things that have floated to the surface that we've seen in the city manager's office and on city council. And so those topics include gardening and landscaping, local business support, the city's budget, and then wellness and mental health. And so I'll kick it off with gardening and landscaping. This is an area we've gotten a lot of questions about, and on a few fronts. One, we have some elderly residents who may not be able to take care of their gardens, and they're relying on landscapers. Two, there's routine maintenance, a person who comes by for a mow and blow. And at the current time, the County of Santa Clara has actually set requirements that those types of gardeners, landscapers, for routine, regular, or cosmetic upkeep is not permitted under the current public health order. Residents can, of course, continue to do their own gardening at home. And I believe, although some of the nurseries are shut down, many of them are actually delivering supplies. So if you want to enjoy the sunshine and use some free time, great time to start a victory garden or take care of your plants. The only type of gardening or landscaping that is currently allowed is those linked to the necessary maintenance or habitability or sanitation of a home, such as fire safety work or tree trimming to prevent a dangerous condition. I'll note on a personal note, even I forgot to ask my gardeners to stop coming, and they only come every 2 weeks. And earlier this week, actually, a police officer stopped by to remind us. So we asked the gardeners to please stop coming, though we are continuing to pay them. Moving on to local business support and recovery. We all know and have seen the reports and probably seen empty University Avenue and California Ave. Our businesses in Palo Alto and across the country are really, really hurting. So on Monday, we took a couple actions to begin addressing that. First of all, the City Council and we took the initiative to begin a financial support model to our small businesses with less than 50 employees. It remains to be seen how we disperse those funds, what kind of grant matches we get, what types of businesses they go to, but we want to put some effort behind supporting our businesses. And it's really important for a few reasons, in my opinion. On the one hand, we all shop at our grocery stores, we go out to restaurants, we go to the toy store to get a present, and that's really important part of our community fabric. Those businesses are also important that they keep our downtown and commercial districts lively and vibrant. And finally, these businesses produce sales tax, which help run many of the city services. I also set up an ad hoc committee of council members Nis and council member Cormack. And I believe this morning they had their first discussion with a business roundtable where council members and city staff invited dozens upon dozens of businesses to provide their feedback. And these are small businesses, lawyers, doctors, tech companies, insurance agents, a whole range of businesses, because everyone's hurting today. And we want to hear directly from them, what they're seeing and in what ways the city might assist them. And finally, the city, many of our city staff are actually working on a medium-term recovery plan. And so what can we do in the medium and long term to help those businesses, whether it's streamlining processes at City Hall, figuring out some economic development strategies, or most importantly, learning from those businesses what they want to hear. If you are listening today and you have ideas about how to support our businesses, please send them to the City Council. And most importantly, please continue to shop locally where safe and appropriate. Let's support our Palo Alto businesses. Mr. Shikata, do you want to touch on any of those topics?
Well, just perhaps I could touch on a couple of those points. First, in terms of the business roundtables, yes, we had our first session this morning, and about 20 business owners participated with us. Really can't say enough about the quality of the input that they were able to give us. This is the first of 3 sessions that we'll be having over the next several days, and really a tremendous opportunity for us to get that feedback, to identify some suggestions as to where we might focus our efforts. As you pointed out, focused on recovery. Ultimately, as we know, when the shelter-in-place order is lifted, we do expect that it may be incremental. And so really important for us to be able to support businesses as they're going through the process of their own reorientation, as we've seen in grocery stores, physical separation, increased cleaning, all the various elements that we'll need to keep in mind, and how that relates both to the city as a regulatory agency, as well as the public space around our stores and restaurants. So really valuable feedback there, both some near-term issues as well as some longer-term issues that we can work on. And again, there'll be some more opportunities. So if if there are business owners that would still like to participate, can email me, ed.shikata@cityofpaloalto.org, and we may have some capacity to take some additional participants as well. And then one other point back on gardening, I would note, as you pointed out, we are, as is the case for all cities in Santa Clara County, our police department is responsible for the enforcement of any issues associated with the shelter-in-place order. We are focused on just informing the public to make sure people are aware of what the restrictions are. So very few, if any, citations we'd expect to be issued. And at the same time, notable that gardening is the highest volume calls that we're getting. And there is a split between those who are concerned that they see gardening happening perhaps at a neighboring property, and those who think it is, quite frankly, the dumbest rule ever, because for a variety of reasons, people don't see it as one that involves a great deal of social close contact. So again, just acknowledging that we hear both sides of the argument. We're in the role of implementing the order or enforcing the order, so we'll see that through, and we're also in contact with the county so that they're aware of the feedback we're getting, and we know that they're receiving it themselves. Yep. So with that, let me just note on a couple of the topics that might be of interest. Budget. As we've talked to the council about, and council certainly talking to the community, that we split our response to the coronavirus pandemic into basically 2 major areas. One has been responding to the emergency, and overall, I feel very good about how we've responded as an organization and as our community. And the second is really dealing with the fiscal financial aftermath that we know is really going to be a significant issue for us for quite some time. So on Monday, we began the second process by presenting to the council an update on a proposed budget, which begins on July 1st of this year, runs until June 30th. And every year under the city charter, we're required to have a balanced budget that the council must adopt by the end of June. So as we know, there are so many unknowns in terms of what will be happening with major revenue sources for the city, which includes sales taxes and hotel taxes, both of which are really hurting as they are with the businesses that generate those taxes. And so as such, we're going through a process of more quickly than ever revising our budget and coming forward with some recommendations on the kinds of changes that will be necessary in order to have a balanced budget going into the next fiscal year. What will be happening through the month of May will be a series of city council discussions that will hopefully get us to the point of having conclusions as to what's the appropriate changes to our budget and our service levels that reflect really tighter finances. So we'll keep working on that, and look forward to discussing that with the council, and then coming forward. It will be really difficult conversations. In general, we're talking about reduction in services because what else can you do with less to work with, but nonetheless want to do so in a manner that really respects the priorities of the community and does everything we can with the resources that we have available.
You know, I think just building on that, you know, I mean, if you've been out walking or driving in Palo Alto, you'll see the streets are empty. There's plentiful parking. There's no traffic on 101, 280, Page Mill. And, you know, that is then reflected in our revenues, right? A number of Palo Alto hotels have shut down. A number of our businesses have gone into hibernation. And much of the city's budget is driven by the sales tax and hotel transit occupancy tax that those businesses produce. And so, you know, I do think, I mean, I think there's maybe a silver lining here that we begin to understand, you know, how all these different parts of our community are interconnected, that, you know, our businesses employ people, they produce sales or hotel taxes or other taxes, which then fund city services. And, you know, we only can provide the services for which we have the revenue. And the last point I'll mention, you know, we've received some emails saying like, oh, well, you know, the city staff needs to take a hit, but keep these services. And I just want to emphasize to everybody that the services are the people. It's the people in City Hall, the, you know, 1,100 plus City Hall employees who provide those services day in, day out. So those two things are intimately connected.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Your theme, I think the theme of how this experience has shown how connected we are is really, really a critical one. Maybe just taking that as a opening, the wellness of our community as a whole is certainly an ongoing issue of concern. You know, certainly this has been a stressful time for people on many fronts, whether it be economic situations, just simply sheltering at home, and what's happening with their family, and feelings of isolation. So that's also an area that our community has really stepped forward in, everything from helping each other and demonstrating caring for one another as an overall community, while at the same time focusing on whether they be therapeutic resources and including therapists that have volunteered and stepped forward to provide services to community members. We do have a page on our city website that is focused on wellness issues. It's cityofpaloalto.org/bewell, all one word, BEWELL. And it's got a listing of resources that community members can certainly just take a look at, and with a number of links that might be of interest to both community members for themselves, their families, neighbors, as the case may be.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Just a few things there. I mean, I know a couple of the resources. Certainly, there are therapists who have gone online and are still offering their services. You know, I know some Palo Alto neighborhoods have a check-in each night at like 6 p.m. where they, you know, wave to each other or play music on the porch. The Magical Bridge Foundation has set up, I think, almost daily concerts on their Facebook page, which is a nice way to get some midday entertainment. You know, and then I'd also encourage folks, like in Palo Alto, one of the things we're blessed with is, you know, good weather, great gardens, beautiful streets. So, you know, within safety parameters, you know, take a walk, wear your mask. I keep on repeating it, but I never knew Palo Alto had so many dogs, which has been quite fun for us to see around town. And then, you know, many of the roses are in bloom. So, you know, stop and smell the roses too. There's a lot of good stuff around here. There's some nice walks in Stanford too. And although many of the city's parks are largely closed or harder to access without parking, you know, you're still absolutely welcome if able to bike out to the Baylands or up to Foothill Park. I think those are important things to remember too.
And take a walk around the neighborhood as well. And we certainly, to your point, we both see dogs and just people that are walking everywhere. So a couple of notes related to that. One is that certainly safety is an important issue to keep in mind. And as you've heard some of the narrative, that speeding is up on streets everywhere. And so we'd certainly want to reinforce the importance of community members, one, to watch their own speed. It's funny how we don't typically rely on traffic congestion to slow us down. That's something that we look forward to, but you know, it has that impact. And with not many cars on the road, we have, and the police department is reporting that it's a serious safety issue. And so it's important both as drivers, to the extent people are on the road to keep an eye on their speed, especially with more people walking in our neighborhood streets, but also as people walking on our neighborhood streets to keep an eye out for drivers who may not be as mindful as they should be of the surrounding area. So I think those are a couple of key points we wanted to mention, and just a quick follow-up related to enforcement, that certainly our police department is handling urgent safety issues through 911, but things that are not perhaps as urgent, just remember our non-emergency number, 650-329-2413 is the number through which we're taking any calls related to issues or concerns about violations of the shelter-in-place order.
Yeah, just one other off-topic but important thing I've seen a couple of my colleagues bring up too. If you are using personal protective equipment, whether it's gloves or masks, please be sure to dispose of it in a trash bin or similar, and don't just throw it on the street for other safety and for the beauty of our community. I think we're kind of closing up here, but just a few things. Supporting local businesses is more important than ever. So, do support your local grocery store. If you feel safe going there, go there. But otherwise, there's, services like Instacart, Amazon, and other delivery services for pharmacies. The farmers market on Sundays on Cal Ave has special protocols. And I'm pretty sure it's on the city's website, but they have a special seniors hour. They have curbside pickup, things like that. Ed and I are each going to share our favorite takeout restaurant. I've got a couple right now. We've been ordering a lot of Orens and then Zareen's. So that's what my wife and I have been doing. How about you?
Well, my favorite is still Sweet Green.
Cool.
Go there all the time.
Nice. The city does have a website showing which restaurants are open, which are doing delivery and their hours. It is cityofpaloalto.org/support-local. I know the Palo Alto Weekly and the Chamber of Commerce have similar lists, so please do check out those as well and support Palo Alto businesses. Ed, you want to take this next section?
Sure. Just in terms of other ways to get in touch with us, mentioned our police phone numbers, but also we have a call center that is available from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays. That's 650-272-3181. We are also taking emails. So if there are questions and areas that you'd like information, that cityofpaloalto.org. Oh, sorry, that can't be right. It's well, we'll figure out what the email address is. The cityofpaloalto.org/coronavirus is a page that has information on additional contacts and resources for you. And more, we do expect that we'll get calls as we gear up for our return to civic life, as I like to refer to it. And as we can hopefully look forward to some easing and some activity that can be allowed, that questions will come up, I'm sure. And so as a city, we would certainly like to continue to be a resource for the community there.
Yeah. And speaking of that, there are many ways to connect with the city of Palo Alto. You can always write any of us in the city council. It's just our first name dot last name at cityofpaloalto.org. These table talk chats are just one more way we are working to connect our community with information. Sorry for the squeaks in the background. That's my puppy. That's life nowadays, isn't it? The city has a newsletter, which is cityofpaloalto.org/newsletter or .org/coronavirus for up-to-date information. You all know the city has a number of social media accounts: Twitter, Facebook, Nextdoor, and I think Instagram too nowadays. And please tune in next week. We'll be here again 2 p.m. on Fridays. Maybe it's me and the city manager. We might invite other city council members or other staff members to share their perspective. But do just want to say to everybody out there, please be kind to each other, stay safe, healthy, and sane. And when things get back to normal, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone out in the street. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Shikata.
Thank you very much, Mayor.